Right, morning guys, Scotty here from Airborne Solutions. We thought we'd take the time to go through how to map with the XAG system. There's quite a few different ways to do it, so we thought we'd spend some time going through it. So one of the ways you can map is with the M500, the survey drone. You put that up and it produces a high definition photo. We can then click on the photo where we want to spray and where we don't want to spray, and that's RTK accurate. We won't go into that too much on this video, but that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can walk around the field, and this is what we'll mostly focus on today, using the controller. So the controller can either map in GPS mode. So the pros and cons of GPS mode, is it gets into GPS mode in like 20 seconds, really fast. So if you're not too worried about accuracy, chuck it in GPS mode, run around the field real quick. It'll be plus or minus 2 or 3 meters. That's the con. But in GPS mode, you could stick your arm out the window of your ute, click the button, it'll log the point, chuck it on the passenger seat, go to another corner, get it back out again. It's that quick to find a fix that it's not a big issue. But the problem is it's not as accurate. The other way to map is called VRTK. So this is virtual RTK. So that is really accurate, sub half a meter, but it is a little bit more tedious to map with, and we'll go through that right now. So first thing you do to map in VRTK, we've already got the unit into VRTK because it takes about 5 minutes. So you turn everything on, click on the controller, click on positioning service, and like I said, we've already got it turned on. So in your case you won't. You click on this top slider here that you can see and turn it on. You've got a few different options here. You can map in GPS, VRTK, or RTK. So GPS is like we spoke about at the start of the video, really quick but not that accurate. RTK most people don't have, so we won't worry about that in this video. And VRTK, really accurate but a bit slower. So you click on VRTK, and then you wait 5 minutes. It takes a solid 5 minutes for this to get accurate enough to be able to map in VRTK. Sometimes I get phone calls from guys who have clicked it on and waited a minute or so and it's not getting into VRTK. Just keep waiting. And it's really imperative that you leave it pointing straight up. If I tip this 90 degrees, it'll lose all its accuracy and you'll have to wait another 5 minutes again. So it's imperative to keep it straight up. One of the things some guys do is you can buy a male-female USB-C extension cord that goes between the mapping module and the controller. That way you can put the controller down and put the mapping module up on a pole and have it on your shoulder and keep it exposed to the sky really easily. So you've waited your 5 minutes, you're in VRTK active. We now go and create a field. So you go field, and then you go mapping. Then you've got a few options here down the bottom right of the screen. You can map with your finger as such, or you can map using the controller. That's a picture of the old ACS2. So in our case, we've got the Arc 3 Pro. We click use. And then we can go around pushing L1 on the controller. And it will log points. So this is really accurate to sort of under half a meter. I don't know what the official amount is, but it's really accurate. The one thing to do when you're mapping in VRTK that's quite important, if you want the next time you spray it to be just as accurate, is you pick a point that you can hover the drone over, and then when you go to fly the map, you hover the drone over this point and it'll make it really accurate. So we've got this blue insulator here. We'll use that. So make sure you log a point over there. Come back around full circle back to where we started. We can just push auto close. And then save. So really important to keep the controller pointing straight up the whole time. If I was to tip this halfway through, it would lose the entire map. So really important to keep it going straight up in VRTK. So I've made a map, we click save. We remember that that blue insulator is our point that we're going to hover over. And we're away. Cool. So that's a map in VRTK. The other way you can map is obviously Google. Well, you can see in the background here, actually, that's an HD map, so that's more accurate than Google. So we'll just scroll across to some roofs that we did the other day, and you'll be able to see we actually mostly map roofs now in Google Earth. So you can see really accurately the size and the shape of the roof. And we always map roofs now on Google, but we don't fly them without doing an offset correction. We're about to do an offset correction here because the size and shape in Google is really accurate, but its location in the world is not. So when you map it on Google, if you just flew it straight off that file, it would fly probably 2 meters or even 3 meters way off the side of the building. But if you do an offset, it works out pretty perfect. The reason we don't use a controller to mark buildings is VRTK doesn't work very well under the eaves of big commercial buildings. It loses service, basically can't see enough satellites, and GPS is only 2 or 3 meters, which isn't accurate enough for buildings. So again, with buildings we map on Google Earth and always use an offset correction. So let's say I'll pick or have another look at these buildings that we did the other day. So we just clicked around the corners of the buildings, and one thing we often do is instead of using the actual boundary for an offset correction point, we use a no spray zone. One thing to note, you can't use an obstacle as an offset correction point. It has to be either no spray or the boundary. So we often use a no spray zone because they can be anywhere. They can be in the block or out of the block. So let's say on Google, you could see, say I'll start a new block here. Just pretend I'm going to spray this tiny corner here. Off Google. Then I might change to a no spray zone. I can actually see the post relatively well there. So we just make a triangle and we use that left hand part of the no spray zone as our offset correction because we can see it's over the right hand side of the gateway. That way, so the size and shape is right on Google, it's just in the wrong part of the world. When you do an offset, it bounces it to be right on top of where it needs to be. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll do an offset now off the block that we just did, and hopefully it'll make more sense again. Rightio, so we'll go into operation and we'll click on the block we want to do, so test. You can actually see when you zoom in how I click the button right on top of that blue insulator, but on the map here it doesn't look like it is. So we'll do an offset correction. We click on the corner we want to use. The drone's in VRTK. So now too as well, this can be removed. It's important to note if you take off, or actually won't take off, but if you're on an autonomous mission and you take off with this still connected and still on mapping road, the sticks do nothing. So the drone will be flying away and you've got no control. So really important to remove this, or make sure you're definitely out of mapping mode. I mean, that's up to you and how you want to operate, but we just take it off to remove the risk. Yeah, because it does stay in mapping mode. So we've clicked the point we want to use as an offset. Again, if you're using a building, you click one of the corners of the building. The drone is all good to go. Fly it over the blue insulator. You can use the cameras as well, but I can see it here, so there's no issue there. And then you push correct to the drone. Notice the whole map jump, then push complete. Now this whole map is going to be super accurate for a couple of hours, and you're ready to spray. The other way to map, which we haven't gone through, so we'll terminate this, is with the drone. So we can, instead, so you got finger there, you got stick, and then you can click tiny and use him. So now the drone is the mapper, but to be honest, we don't use it very often. We prefer to map with a controller or Google Earth. So you can fly the drone around using the downward facing camera. So I'll just take off again here, Jamie. It does work, and it works quite well. We just don't use it very often for some reason. So you can see here we've got a fence line. We could click L1 there, creates a point. It does actually save you having to do an offset correction, which is pretty handy because the drone's already in the same VRTK. And then, as everyone knows, there we go. So we're right on the fence again. We could log another point. Can't log while you're flying. If you click, you'll notice it doesn't let you. So come to hover, click. We'll just go auto close. It can be a triangle. So there you go. If you do it like that, you don't need to do an offset correction. There is actually one other way you can map as well. We can change to multi-field mapping. So same ways you can make points, but you can just make a multitude of points. Oh, allow my. And you can choose how to join them up. Connection. So now we choose how we want to join these. So you can make a heap of points. Say you had a heap of paddocks that are long and skinny. You could drive up one end of all of the paddocks, then drive down the other end of all of the paddocks, then choose, I'll simulate it, then choose how you want to join them up. So now we can go. We can make another paddock like this. Connection, sorry. We don't use it very much, but in Asia they use it a lot because they have lots of very uniform style paddocks. So you can make a whole heap of points. And it's actually quite good as well because you can, as you're walking through a paddock, if you go past an obstacle, if you're just dropping points, you can go around and mark the obstacle while you're beside it, and then later use those points as an obstacle rather than the boundary. If that makes sense. So I've performed an offset. Yeah, roof washing we use Google Earth now, always with an offset, not without. Always remember to turn mapping mode off before you launch into a autonomous operation. I think that's about the bulk of it. If you've got any questions, as always, give us a call. We're always free to help. Yeah, thanks very much for watching.